Oh, yeah, you hear that funky music, don't you? My name is Bryan Davis. Welcome to the Fans First Football Show from the Fans First Sports Network. Wherever you download your favorite podcast, please make this one of yours, and we are so glad to have you. It is week one of the NFL season 2024. I am so jacked and so excited, and I have some new friends with me. I am so glad to have them here. I want to introduce each and every one of them. I'm going to go ahead and say your names, and you're going to tell me the show and who you represent and why we should like you. So first, I've got Jess Place representing the Denver Broncos. Looks like.
Woohoo! Yeah, I am Jess Place. I'm on the Something Broncos podcast, which you can find over on the Mile High Broncos podcasts.
All right, courtesy of Fans First Sports Network. Also, newcomer to FFSN, we've got Hogan. What's going on, Hogue?
Hey, what's going on? It's Hogan. I am over on Foxborough Frenzy, where I'm representing the New England Patriots, the little solo show we got going on over there. I was also part of the Between the Tackles with my buddy Burge, where we tackle all things NFL. So super pumped to be here, ready to rock and roll.
All right, and last but not least, well, if he takes the Phillies hat off, we would have a better time of it. And I know you can't see it, but he's representing the Phillies. I'm a Pirates fan, so I don't know what baseball is, so that might be a good thing. So BSL Reed, which is Broad Street LinkedIn, all right, Reed?
Yes, sir. This is Reed. I host the Broad Street LinkedIn podcast. Obviously, everything Eagles. We also have some fantasy advice and some gambling picks for you guys over on my channel. So make sure you check it out.
All right, fantastic. So a very exciting first week of the season. The NFL looked a lot like the WWE this week because the first two games look scripted as hell. We know they're not, but I got to tell you, it was must-see TV watching those games. I had a whole heck of a lot of fun. And let's go to the very first game. And it's a game that I was watching intently because I represent the Pittsburgh Steelers. As I did not introduce myself earlier, I am typically on the Steel Curtain Network, part of Fans First Sports Network, and one of the founders here at FFSN as well. So glad to be here with you. I was watching that game because it's the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I've got to be objective, and they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. So with that game, that was a really interesting game to start with some superstar quarterbacks, two-time NFL MVPs on both sides with Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, that dude there, I've heard of him. So with that being said, I'm going to take it to Jess first for your thoughts on that game, since it's a division rival of your team, but we are going to be objective here for both teams.
No. You never like to see a division rival win anything ever, and I've really not gotten used to this Chiefs thing of them being good and being like the talk of the NFL. And I grew up in the 80s when the Chiefs were just a nuisance. I mean, they had some times where they were okay. Elvis Gerback was just a godsend for us Bronco fans, but yeah, it was sad to see that they pulled ahead of the Ravens. I also don't like the Ravens either. We had some playoff loss to them that was just heartbreaking in the first Peyton Manning year. And so, I mean, you heard it here first, folks. The Broncos fan is unhappy that the Chiefs won.
All right, well, let's talk about the game and not your feelings, Jess.
My feelings are all that matters. I mean, come on. This is a storied Broncos Chiefs rivalry. No, it's all fine. I mean, Travis Kelce did not get going. Patrick Mahomes did. Taylor Swift was shown all the time, and it was just another terrific Chiefs game where they pulled it out.
Absolutely. Hogan, your thoughts on this game? Let me ask you this. Lamar Jackson at the end of that game, as dynamic as he was, couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat.
I'm on record as being, I enjoy watching Lamar Jackson play, but you got to twist my arm to tell me he's not a running back pretending to be a quarterback. I mean, the guy is a tremendous talent, and what he can do running the ball and making the plays that he does, getting away from, potential sacks and whatnot, is unbelievable. He led the team in rushing. He had 16 carries for 122 yards with a team that has Derrick Henry on it. And at the end there, I mean, he did his best to get them that win. Isaiah Likely just, the fraction of an inch where his toe was out. We all kind of wish that it had been in to make it more intriguing to go to overtime. But yeah, I don't know. Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP, but you still got to prove that you can throw the ball and win the game for me at the end of the day. And just like the AFC Championship comes up short yet again.
Should have Isaiah Likely been wearing white shoes?
That might have helped a little bit, but at the same time,
he probably would have gotten the touchdown if he was wearing white shoes.
Really? You guys think that? I was joking.
On our show, Tim Lynch brought up that a few years ago, the Saints and the Broncos played, and Will Parks had an interception. He was running down the sideline and may or may not have stepped outside, and he was wearing white shoes, and we believe firmly that it was the white shoes that got us that call, and I believe it would have gone that way with the Ravens.
All right,
that last play, I had mixed feelings. Obviously, I'd love to see a good game go to overtime. I actually had the under 47.5, so that toe out of bounds saved me there. But my biggest takeaways from this game is Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, right? You saw Mark Andrews realistically kind of playing like a left tackle position. I mean, he was blocking the whole game, only had 2 catches, and Isaiah Likely went off. And on the Chiefs side of the ball, I think everyone's looking at the Bills saying, what are you doing? They let him get Mahomes. They let him get Xavier Worthy. Worthy clearly has that Tyreek Hill speed. Phenomenal game from him. But yeah, those are my 2 biggest takeaways from this game.
All right, we're going to stay with Reed as we go to Brazil. Nobody got murdered, so that's a really good thing. I know we were worried about that. I was worried about that. Darius Slay was definitely worried about that. Yeah. So your quick thoughts on your Philadelphia Eagles and a very tough Green Bay Packer team.
Yeah, I think this has the potential to be an NFC Championship rematch. You hate to see Jordan Love go down like that. Hopefully he's okay. I think he's only going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, but obviously, Saquon went off 132 all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. I loved Quinion Mitchell out there, 2 pass blocks, just heads-up plays. One of them, big third down, had the ball in Dubs' his hands, I believe, knocked it out. Love to see Saquon in an Eagles uniform. Zach Bond was a player I was very skeptical about, special teams guy that we got from the Saints, and he played really well at linebacker, which is good. And some interesting news that Devin White didn't travel with the team. I've heard rumors that they might cut him, which is interesting. But linebackers definitely was our weakest position going into this year, and I think Zach Bond is making some promising efforts there.
Hogan, Saquon Barkley, I mean, in just 1 week, is he the free agent bargain of the year?
I mean, I don't know if he's a bargain with what they paid for him, but he's certainly giving them what he earned in that contract from that first game alone. Honestly, I was looking at the Packers running the ball a lot more heavily than I was focusing on the Eagles, considering Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing a couple of years ago with the Raiders, transitioning over into Green Bay now. And obviously the field conditions down there were horrendous, as we all know, with the slipping and sliding everywhere. But Jacobs didn't have a bad night himself. All things considered, it turned into a pass-happy game towards the end because it was just trading the lead at the end there between the 2 of them. But Saquon is just a whole nother beast. And to see him get freed from the shackles of the New York Giants and what they've done to him the last couple of seasons, now he can flourish in a Eagles uniform like that. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do the rest of the season going forward.
Fantastic. Jess, don't worry about Aiden Reed. He doesn't pay you. Are the Philadelphia Eagles a real threat?
Sure. It's week 1. Absolutely. Why not?
The one thing that definitely is, not a great thing. Hurts's 2 interceptions were very poor. And, the muff snaps, one he wasn't ready for, one got in the way. Week 1, you want to work out the kinks. But the second pick really bothered me, 3rd and 13, I believe, in the red zone. it was 26-31. You kick the field goal, you go up 8 points, and to throw that interception at that time is just a terrible decision. But Jalen stays composed, and he didn't let it affect his play. And he, that last drive to close out the game was great, running the ball down their throat, killing the clock. But those two decisions were very poor, and I'm hoping he'll grow from that.
Hogan, Mr. Mayo comes to town and he spreads it on the Bengals. I had to just go there, but hey, I'm an AFC North guy, so even though I took the Bengals in my survival poll,
me too, Brian. Me too.
Polls, I do apologize, but you know what? I'm taking the Bengals loss, and I don't need to win the like $20 that I would have won in the survival poll. So, tell me about this game.
All right, fair enough. I do apologize to all the survival pool players out there. I know that today was probably not the best day for your picking the Cincinnati Bengals.
Don't. You do not apologize.
No, in all honesty, actually, as a Patriots fan, it's a very conflicting win. And I know that sounds kind of crazy coming from me, but I'm looking at this season where I looked at it objectively before the season started as probably a write-off season where we had the third pick in the draft for a reason with Drake May. Jacoby Brissett's our starting quarterback, a lot of young guys, returning guys from injuries, new coaching staff, new almost everything persona behind this team. And it was great to see them get a team win and where they were competitive. And granted, the Bengals had their mishaps where, they were down T. Higgins. Jamar Chase obviously didn't practice to his full capability going into this game. And there were a lot of mishaps. The Bengals certainly had every opportunity to win this game. And the fact that they didn't doesn't surprise me because they're also a team that gets off to a very slow start year in and year out, even when Burrow's healthy and they have everybody available. But it was rewarding to see the Patriots take advantage of that and get a complete team win and kind of just bask in the glory of the post Belichick, post Brady era where, hey, we're not going to be those bums that everybody thought we were going to be. So I take it with a grain of salt. I'd love to see us lose games to get a better draft pick for next year, but I'll take the wins where I can get them, where they were very, very few and far between last season.
All right, Jess, let's go to your Broncos. What the blue and orange hell did we watch today?
Well, it was a story of two halves. If I had told you that rookie Bo Nix was going to throw 42 passes, would you have thought that the Broncos would have won? Probably not. So it was a tough game for all of us that are super excited to believe in our latest quarterback. We lost Garrett Bowles. He got injured, but he might be okay. It looks like a foot bruise, which would be ideal because we definitely need our left tackle. We had some drop passes from Devon Vele, who I guess shined in camp, and he had a drop that was pretty substantial, and of course everyone's like, well, would we have had that problem with Tim Patrick if he had stayed, if we hadn't released him? The Broncos did show up on defense. We got two safeties in the game, which was kind of exciting. I was almost sure that we were going to get a scoregami, but didn't work out that way. It was a tight game up until the third quarter, and then unfortunately, the offense just kind of the defense couldn't keep up with the ineptitude of the offense, and everyone got tired, and that's how it goes. So Broncos are 0-1 going into week 2. We welcome your Pittsburgh Steelers to dinner.
And the Russ bus may or may not be coming.
Please let Russ play. We need this. That will get us so excited to play our best football if Russ is there.
Be careful what you ask for. No, I don't know. I've seen him play maybe 4 series in preseason. So
the most Russell Wilson thing ever, I think, was him suited up in pads when he was ineligible to play.
Inactive.
I thought that was hilarious. I mean,
yep.
He has no ability to play. He's on the injury list, and he was full pads on, ready to go.
I will tell you this, and we'll go into this. I might as well push the Steelers Falcons now. I had them down the card, but we might as well talk Steelers Falcons. Here's the deal about that. He did everything he could to try to get on that field. And I love it. And what a lot of now, Jess and I will probably argue about this, and I understand, but everything that it might be fool's gold right now, it might be a mirage, but right now, Russell Wilson is doing everything to get the key to the city. And he's done that since March. He seems like the ultimate Pittsburgh ambassador already. He seems like the ultimate team player. Mike Tomlin talked about him in the post-game press conference, saying that how supportive he was. And I have a feeling that they are going to go ahead and have him start next week if he's ready. But Justin Fields had a pretty good day for the Steelers. Now, they did not score a single touchdown in this game, but when you have 6 field goals and you had a few situations where calls were absolutely egregious. You had one where the referees came at halftime and apologized, according to TJ Watt, and he's usually on the level, apologized saying, yeah, we got that wrong. And the very next play, Atlanta scored their only touchdown, the only touchdown of the game. But Justin Fields, the difference between the first half and the second half was amazing. It looked like, that yodeler that's on The Price is Right that, keeps on rising. If it was, that's basically what it was. He kept on getting better. The Steelers offense kept on getting better. It was not really what you want to feel good about an offense, but George Pickens had one called back that was a really rough offensive pass interference, but they look like they can start putting up some numbers. I'm not a homer. Well, I am a homer, but I'm not one that tries to. Yeah, I guess I do. But let's just say this: that the defense was called on to carry this team. The running game is called on to carry this team, and anything else you're gonna get is gravy right now. The defense had a phenomenal game. Could have been 5 takeaways. 2 of them on TJ Watt. 2 strip sacks by TJ Watt. He had one legitimate sack, but the 2 strip sacks were disallowed and on some ticky-tack stuff. But it doesn't matter. Pittsburgh Steelers escape with a win. It's like my prom date in 1989. Hey, she was ugly, but at least I got to dance. With that being said, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll be back and talk about some of the other games here on the Fans First Sports Network, Fans First Football Show. Stick around. We'll be back right after this. All right, it's a party here on the Fans First Sports Network. This is great. Everybody is bobbing their heads. Hogan was trying not to bob his head, but towards the end, he's like, I'm getting into this.
You got to bounce. You got to bounce.
It's some good music. It's good. It's good. I got to go with it.
We're one of these days, I'm going to get the robot out of Jess here. I know I am.
It's going to happen.
So let's keep on going. So much happening in the NFL this week. Let's see who is up next. It looks like who do we go? It doesn't matter. Jess, I think you're up next. Let's go ahead. Oh, you're not up next. Hogan, you're up. Let's talk about the Saints and Panthers.
Ooh, Saints and Panthers. Okay, that was an interesting one because I think a lot of people were expecting the Panthers to at least show some type of competence this year, and unfortunately they let us all down again. By no means do I think that the Saints are a world beater. They have a decent team. Their offense, obviously led by Derek Carr. I think it was Rashid Shaheed got a monster touchdown to get it started off with the party down there. Alvin Kamara got in the mix as well. And before you know it, the Panthers were down 30-3 at halftime. And it's not showing any symptoms of improvement from last year where they had the abysmal record that they did. They went 1-15, or I'm sorry, 1-16 for a reason. And it's just they're on the back burner. Is Bryce Young ever going to get to a point where we're going to see his full potential with a talented team around him, with people that are able to protect him and catch the ball and whatnot? I certainly hope so, because I think he is actually a talented player. Will we actually get to see it? I don't know. But my biggest takeaway from this is that the Saints can be a dangerous team when they show up and fire on all cylinders, which they certainly did today against a hapless Panthers team. Going forward, we'll see how the Panthers try to improve, and we'll see if the Saints are the real deal.
19 for 23, 3 touchdowns for Derek Carr. What an amazing day. Now, you mentioned Bryce Young. That means that more and more you're going to hear the name CJ Stroud. This reminds me all over again of Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf from, when was it, 1998? Just like, man, taking the wrong guy at number 1. But like you said, Hogan, he still has time to be the right guy, and let's hope for Panthers fans that he could go ahead and turn that around. But CJ Stroud,
throw, Anthony Richardson in there too. They didn't take him and Stroud, and
that's very true. And you know what? You ruined my segue. But you all actually helped my segue. Speaking of CJ Stroud, speaking of Anthony Richardson, number 2 and number 4 in that draft in 2023, they went at it, and it looked like it was going to be anybody's ball game. That was an exciting game. Jess, what did you see in that game?
Well, it's another AFC South barn burner that we've all come to expect every year. I got to say, it's good to watch CJ Stroud. It's good to watch Richardson. It's a game that I didn't watch.
Well, there you go. Maybe
go. Yeah. I would like to be able to just kind of pull stuff out of my butt, but it looks like, Houston won 29-27. And it's an AFC South matchup. I mean, who thought that they would have scored nearly 60 points between the two of them? There's these two offenses have not been known until last year, I guess, to put up very many points, and certainly made a statement with their week 1 victory.
Yes, sometimes you just gotta fake it till you make it. So I'm gonna jump in. I'll tag in here. CJ Stroud, 24 for 32, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns. Free agent acquisition Joe Mixon. My goodness, 30 carries, 159 yards for a 5.3 average. He had a touchdown on the receiving end. Stephon Diggs, a trade acquisition. Man, these newcomers really helped them out with 2 touchdowns. But Nico Collins didn't have a touchdown, but he had 6 receptions on 117 yards. Absolutely wow. But we talked about the show that was put on by the Colts. Anthony Richardson, only 9 of 19, but had 212 yards. Rushing, he had 56 yards as well, and a touchdown. He had 2 touchdown passes, 1 interception in this game. A guy that was left for dead, Alec Pierce, had a beautiful game, 3 receptions, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. Ashton Doolin, I believe from Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken, had 1 reception and 54 yards and a touchdown. With that being said, this was a back and forth game. It looked like one point that the Indianapolis Colts were definitely for real and coming back in this game, but it was the Houston Texans in a division that's going to be a lot tougher than anybody thinks, Reed.
Yeah, and Anthony Richardson is just so fun to watch. It's Cam Newton 2.0. Those 2 of Alec Pierce's catches were absolute nukes by Anthony Richardson. One of them, he was falling backwards, didn't even have the forward momentum there, and then he just was trucking people over to run into the end zone. He's just such an electric player, and I love watching him. He's a fun guy to watch.
So Hogan, I want to go to you now real quick on this one. You talked about Bryce Young, and now we brought up these 2 players in that same draft, going 1, going 2, and going 4. If you're redrafting and you're the Carolina Panthers,
my Maverick, I got a little excited. My dog is a little excited about your conversation here about this. I know where you're going with this, so I'm gonna jump in and tell you that I think that obviously redrafting the biggest thing right now seems like it's going to be CJ Stroud is what everybody wants, and obviously I think that'd be okay because CJ Stroud is the real deal at this point, especially with the weapons that he is surrounded with. He's playing unbelievable football right now. And Anthony Richardson, the biggest question with him is going to be his health going forward. We all love the style he plays. Like Reed hit the nail on the head. That throw he had today, falling backwards, was 60 yards in the air, perfectly in the hands of Pierce. Nobody on the planet could throw a ball more beautiful than that in the circumstances he was in. That being said, give me CJ Stroud probably first overall at this point because of the intangibles he brings with what he's able to do with the talent around him. Give me Anthony Richardson next after that. Bryce Young, until he proves otherwise, is going to be that third quarterback taken. And hopefully Maverick agrees with me so I don't hear him barking anymore.
I talked to Maverick before the show, and he said, Brian, I got to tell you, I give Hogan all his information. I carry this guy, but I'm man's best friend, so I'm going to give him credit. But I just blew it up, so I do apologize. Jess, I'm going to give you some redemption time. Do you think the Houston Texans are a Super Bowl contender?
Man, that would be great. Like I think back to like the Gary Kubiak years and like how like good they were then, and it would be nice. I guess it'd be nice if they were. No, I don't think they are. I think they're going to go deep, but I don't think they're going to be contenders for the Super Bowl.
Very interesting. Reed, do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, interesting spot. Second-year quarterbacks tend to have a big leap, and he already had a great year last year. I did expect the defense to play better, especially with DeMeco Ryans at the helm. But if something's going to stop them, it's their defense, in my mind. That offense is electric, but I would agree with Jess. I don't think I would put them in that Super Bowl contender tier. There's just also so much competition in the AFC that I would not pick them to be a Super Bowl contender.
Jess, I'm going to give you the pick of the board, or I'm just going to say, all right, just go in your division, Chargers, Raiders.
Ah, yes. I love to talk about when the Raiders lose. The only thing I love more than a Chiefs loss is a Raiders loss. And let me just say that the last 21 years have been just amazing. The Chargers ended up winning 22-10. There were fights. There was all sorts of exciting football action. I don't know. It's great to see Harbaugh come in and kind of reinvent himself with the Chargers, and great. He got his first win. They didn't dump the Gatorade on him like they did the fella from who did they dump the Gatorade on? All of a sudden,
that would be Mayo in New England.
That was yes. Thank you. Yes, the Patriots. How far they've come, right? They go from Belichick and Brady to they get their first win, and then boom, Gatorade bath.
Well, hey, if you watch our season, that's probably going to be our Super Bowl. So
that's the highlight.
I'm okay with that. I am more than okay with that. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The running back committee with the Chargers was interesting. Dobbins and Edwards pretty much split 50-50. I was curious to see how that would pan out. But Dobbins, 13.5 yards per carry, had an absolute game. And you knew the Chargers were going to run the ball with Harbaugh in town. So interesting to see that switch from that Kellen Moore offense from a couple years ago or from last year.
Could we talk J.K. Dobbins for a second here? If he was not injury prone, and I don't want to put this on the guy, but he's going to get hurt again with another season-ending injury because it's every season with this guy. But how phenomenal is he? One of the best injury-prone players you've ever seen?
He's got to be. Watching him run through those holes today, and maybe it's just because I didn't see him that much last year because of the injury, but I forgot how fast the guy was. He was busting it open and getting past, the secondary as well. So, he played phenomenal. It was just an incredible game.
All right, I'm going to double up on the AFC East with Hogan. I'm giving you two games here. The first one, we'll go to the first one because it's not as bad. Your Buffalo Bills, I know they're not your Buffalo Bills, but the Buffalo Bills they were down quite a bit. And I know my son was watching it, doesn't know much about football, but he picked the Bills in the survivor poll. So he was watching the whole thing today. And, there were some nervous moments for the Buffalo Bills, including having to endure a 96-yard kickoff return, the very first kickoff return in the NFL under the new rules in the regular season. Mr. Dallas did that. So Hogan, let's talk about that game first, and then I'll let you segue into the Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins.
Absolutely. Let's get into it. So obviously the Buffalo Bills, everybody knows personally, I believe they took a little bit of a step back in the division and overall this year with obviously the key departures of Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. On defense, they lost Jordan Poyer. They took a step back. There's no easy way to get around that. That being said, them going into the game today against the Arizona Cardinals, I expected them to be firing on all cylinders, kind of take off where they were the last few seasons. And honestly, it was the other way around with Kyler Murray healthy again, getting after it. Cardinals jumped out to a quick 17-0 lead. And it kind of looked like you said, the Bills were spinning a little bit there. That being where it was, Josh Allen decided to put on his helmet strap and was like, all right, let's get this game to where it needs to be. Josh Allen took over both throwing and running. I think he had 2 passing touchdowns to complement 2 rushing touchdowns. The guy is just incredible. As much as I can't stand him because he's in the division, I don't want to see him succeed. He throws his body around like nobody else in the NFL, and how he stays healthy is beyond me. But just the way he's able to run the ball and put that team on his back and pull them off to a victory the way they did. Like you said, it looked like they were almost, they made the comeback and they were pulling ahead, and Arizona seemed to be out of it. When Arizona returned that kick, though, I was sitting there going, okay, this is going to be a really interesting finish. And then Buffalo kind of was just like, no, we're going to squash this right here, right now. And it was kind of a easier victory towards the end there, but definitely an intriguing game, and definitely showed me more about the Cardinals, I believe, than the Bills, because I know the Bills can get scored on and I know they can put up points. Arizona showed a lot of resiliency today by doing what they did to the Bills at Buffalo as well, because that's not an easy place to play. So very interesting going forward, both teams. Let's go on to the team that I really wanted to see lose today. That would be the Miami Dolphins, and they should have lost today. Another team that got off to a very slow start. Jaguars look like, hey, they're competent. They're going to take advantage of this. And they were taking it to Miami in Miami. Granted, they're both Florida teams, so no big surprise there. But Jacksonville had every opportunity to really stifle these guys and show the NFL, hey, you can compete with Miami. They're not going to put up 60, 70 points on you every team every week. And Jacksonville had that chance to bury them. Sorry, Jess, didn't mean to bring up old memories there. I know, I'm sorry. But but Travis Etienne fumbling the ball in that going into the end zone, which would have put them up, I believe, like it would have been 24-7, I believe, at that point. Instead, it fumbles the ball. Miami gets it back. First play after the fumble, Tyreek Hill, handcuffs and all, shows up and goes 80 yards untouched to the end zone. Miami comes back. They kick a field goal in the last few seconds to show they are the real deal. And unfortunately, everybody in the AFC East came out a winner today. So that's where you have it.
Reed, Hogan started the joke. I'm going to finish it because I was planning with this the whole time. How versatile is Tyreek Hill? He was on offense even before the game with an offense. Probably not his first offense, but an offense. And then just an incredible day.
And the handcuff celebration after the touchdown was pretty hilarious too. That was a nice little touch, I thought, by him. Pretty humorous. But got pulled over on the way to the game for reckless driving. Didn't seem like I don't know why they put him in cuffs. It seemed like he was complying to their instructions from the video. But I wanted to mention one thing about the Cardinals-Bills game. I think a big story there is the Marvin Harrison one catch. I did notice he was open on a variety of routes. Kyler Murray seemed to, yes, especially on that potential game-winning touchdown. No one was even near him. But I noticed Kyler Murray. I was high on the Cardinals going into the year. He's not really keeping his eyes downfield. A lot of dump offs to McBride, a lot of dump offs to Dortch. And obviously his scrambling ability is still there. But I think as the season goes on, like Hogan is saying, I think the Cardinals will come into their own. And I think Marvin Harrison will actually start making a bigger impact.
Jess, this is season 6 for Kyler Murray. Is it time to turn the page?
Sure. Yeah. I if it was going to happen with Kyler Murray, it probably would have already happened with Kyler Murray. I was a little surprised that they jumped up on the Bills so early. They were I'm in a survivor loser pick, and so I had picked the Cardinals to lose. And
That's awesome.
That's
I didn't
really
know they had
cool.
those.
I've never.
Oh
heard
yeah.
that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. My buddy got me hooked up in it, and so we're doing it together, and we were both sweating it out because it's like it's terrible to lose in the first week, and so I was super happy when the Bills like realized that they were playing the Cardinals and started acting like it. So
All right, wait, stop the presses. Is this like a Yahoo thing or is this a mom and pop thing?
this is like my buddy says, "Hey, who do you think is going to lose this week?" And we kind of talk about it, and then he puts it into wherever it goes. I have no idea. I sent him $50. I hope we win some money at the end.
Hey, you're a winner if you're a loser. I love it.
That's it. Yeah.
Hogan, any thoughts on Kyler Murray? Because I know we were talking about that. I just want to throw that out to you real quick.
Yeah, so Kyler Murray is a very interesting prospect. Side note that you might not know about me, I am also a Texas Longhorns fan, so I despised him back in college. Don't really have great feelings for him now in the pros either, because I think he has all the intangibles to be successful, and he's proven time and time again that he loves to play kind of like a backyard football like show that he puts on. Like Reed alluded to his scrambling ability. It's amazing. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, if you watch what he does, it's just full-blown panic mode when a defensive lineman gets in his face and he's just running around like a toddler, just clutching that football, just praying that he doesn't get hit. And he throws the ball up. He's had tremendous talent around him. He had DeAndre Hopkins for a while. Right at the end of Larry Fitzgerald's career was there with him as well. So he's been surrounded by good talent, and he hasn't really taken advantage of that, especially where they've been able to run like potent offenses there. And I don't know. I don't see him being the successor there much longer if it keeps going the way it's going.
All right, Jess, I'm going to let you take control of the board. I'm going to let you pick any game because I have no clue what you watched.
Well, I watched a lot of highlights. I mostly watched the Bronco game because I had to take my kids to a baseball game.
And you got to work. I get it.
I know there's a lot going on, and so I just watching the highlights. We didn't really talk much about what do we want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? I can just I have little tidbits on each one. Like it's like, for example, like the poor Giants, like they got annihilated by Minnesota. Did not see that coming.
Those uniforms were kind of
so brutally
cool.
It is cool. And hey, you know that YouTube TV commercial where they have all the different mascots that show up?
And the giant, yeah.
The giant is an excellent touch. However, I would like to team up with our Colts friends and just say, like, why didn't they have like a white horse? Like they could have knocked out 2 teams, 1 horse. Come on, guys.
I didn't think about that. Any actual thoughts on the playing of the game? Like any stats?
Well, yes, sure. Daniel Jones is terrible. We all knew that. Glad to see Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles where he can flourish. Like you said earlier, Hogan, the shackles are off. That's all I got. It's just, I can chime in, but I can't lead the charge on the breakdowns.
Well, let me tell you this. Sam Darnold, 19 of 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. I know this is a team that has just getting murdered with injuries over the last couple years. Aaron Jones comes in, 14 carries, 94 yards, 6.7 average, and a touchdown. And they get a pedestrian game from Justin Jefferson, only 59 yards on 4 catches, but that's all they needed. 1 touchdown. This was 28-6. This was a thorough domination. The only thing that looked nice on the New York Giants, again, were those really crazy cool uniforms.
Kind of looked like they weren't wearing pants.
Yeah. Well, I know a little bit about that. Not the fact that I do wear pants everywhere I go.
Prove it.
But I know the Steelers, when they did the throwback uniforms in 1933, they were wearing those beige pants, and it just looked absolutely ridiculous with the bumpy jerseys. But it would have looked really cool if they would have went with the black pants that they use with their color rush No, but I digress. We're not talking Steelers. But if you're a First and School guy, our guy David Stefano from First and School, they got to be loving it. That's a good. I know it's just the Giants, but that is a good opening day victory for them. I don't feel good for many teams. Got to feel good for the Vikings there. Let's go ahead and talk about a team that you abhor, Reed. It's the Dallas Cowboys, but they did me a favor, 33-17 over the Browns. Dak got paid today, and Dak played today.
Yeah, Dak got his money. CD did as well earlier in the offseason. Dak 19 for 32, 179 yards and a touchdown. Zeke with 10 carries. Looks like he's going to be the main back, 40 yards and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb doing it both on the ground and through the air. 5 receptions, 61 yards, 3 rushes, 25 yards. But this was a thrashing. More worried about how great their defense looked, absolutely stifling the Browns. Deshaun Watson looks awful. I don't know. Something happened after all the allegations because it's not the same guy. I don't know who I'm watching on the field. But yeah, I mean, the line made no sense for this game. I don't know how the Cowboys were plus 2.5. Everyone seems to be off them this year. They're still a great team. That defense is going to carry them, and they're just going to feed CD all day. Brandon Cooks also had a decent game. Very quiet last year, but 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. There was kind of a big question about who that second guy was going to be. A lot of people pointed to Jake Ferguson. But speaking of Jake Ferguson, he looks like he had a terrible knee injury. I don't want to be the Eagles fan that roots for injuries. So, you hate to see that. Hopefully he has a recovery there. But I'm not sure if any reports came out after the game about the severity, but it looks pretty bad.
A lot of people were talking about the Cleveland Browns before this season and feeling that it's their time, and they really took a step back. But they do have a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year in Kevin Stefanski. Amari Cooper, who was just lights out for them, especially down the stretch last year, only 2 catches for 16 yards. Another thing that I've got to bring up here, Myles Garrett, 2 tackles, no assists, 1 sack, and he's already won Defensive Player of the Year.
TJ Watt got robbed last year, Brian. I'm with you on that.
100%.
TJ Watt got robbed today. Should have had 3 sacks and 2 strip sacks, but he got his 1 sack. But no, Myles Garrett, he could go to the Waffle House and not even play, and they're like Defensive Player of the Year. That was just preordained last year. But I digress. Sorry, Cleveland fans, but you're Cleveland fans. You're used to getting ripped.
They're big feelings. We all have big feelings.
Yeah. All right, let's look. We've got to go ahead and take care of everybody here, so we definitely will. I'm going to take a couple games real quick. Great day for Baker Mayfield. My goodness, 24 for 30, 289, and 4 TDs. This game was 37-20, but it was never in doubt. I can't believe that I'm going to admit to this, but this was a game that I was watching. I live kind of in Commanders territory, and I forgot to renew my Sunday ticket. So I had to watch this game. I was supposed to be watching the Raiders game because I do produce for the Las Vegas Raiders Insider here on the Fans First Sports Network. But this game, Tampa Bay was very good. Jaden Daniels, not that bad of a day. 17 for 24, 184, no touchdown passes, but on the ground, the leading rusher, 16 carries, 88 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Leading rusher for the day, by the way. Nice return for Austin Eckler as well, 4 receptions, 52 yards. But again, it was the Baker Mayfield show. That's a weird division. We've already talked about it. Anything could happen. It could be Tampa. It could be Atlanta, who lost today, or it could be New Orleans. It won't be Carolina, but we had to bring up that game. So if you're fans of those 2 teams, I'm sorry if I shortchanged you, but a great day for Baker Mayfield, former Browns. So I never gave him credit, but I love what he's doing as a part of the National Football Conference. Let's keep on going to see if there's any games that we left uncovered. And the number 1 draft pick, Caleb Williams. He played, got the win, but his defense did all the scoring. Tell me about it, Hogan.
I gotta say that I think this was more of the Titans giving away the game than it was the Bears winning the game. Titans jumped out to a very quick lead. Caleb Williams, I've been on record saying that I don't think he's going to be the greatest quarterback ever. I think he had a lot of red flags coming out of USC. He's got so much talent around him, and the fact that he couldn't even crack 100 yards passing today against I think Tennessee is a mediocre team at best. I don't think they're world beaters by any means. You got to put up more than 100 passing yards. I mean, that's just, come on. What are we doing here? You got Keenan Allen, you got DJ Moore, you got Cole Kmet, you got, what is it, Adunze as the 9th overall pick. You have way too much talent around you to have your defense bail you out the way they did. If anybody on here saw the pass that Tennessee threw for the pick six was just the most putrid thing I've ever seen.
Terrible.
Will Levis or whatever his name is, he needs to get benched immediately. He is just not the answer down there in Tennessee, and I'm still very bitter with what they did to my boy Mike Vrabel. I'm still bitter about that whole situation. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see if Caleb Williams is able to continue to grow and kind of develop into the player that the Bears are hoping he'll be. With the talent around him, he has to be that player. They put too much stock into him at this point, but I definitely think today was more Tennessee losing the game than it was the Bears winning.
Hogan, a couple things to say, but I don't know if you know this or maybe you've forgotten this, but he was my boy first. Of the Steelers in 1997. Very, very good player for the Steelers. They just didn't protect him.
That's it. You guys you let him go, and we happily took him with open arms. But you guys have some great outside linebackers in your history, so I don't want to hear about it. Okay?
At that time, there was it was tough for him to get in.
That's right.
He was more of a special teams demon at the time, but very good player in a short time in Pittsburgh. Had to go ahead and bring that up because always do. Also, I've got to mention this. One of those touchdowns, the first touchdown of the year for the Chicago Bears, is somebody that we've heard a lot of if we watched Hard Knocks this season, and we know his wife well. 8,000-time Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles, her husband, with that 21-yard block punt return, Jonathan Owens. And crickets.
Yeah, I mean,
I would like to go back to the Caleb Williams thing. I mean, yes, he threw for fewer than 100 yards, but this is the Chicago Bears. I mean, in their history, they haven't really had a dynamic passer. So that is a watershed moment, and I say that as a fan of a team where we also had fewer than 100 yards passing today from our rookie quarterback. So it's week one. Let's maybe not get too down on it right away, or maybe we should just start panicking. I'm happy to start panicking now.
I just think, honestly, in that division where you have talents like Detroit and Green Bay, the way that they are, and even Minnesota taking a step back, obviously they were high hopes for JJ McCarthy. I with the first overall pick, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, like the whole Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf situation, right? And I'm not comparing Caleb Williams to those players currently, but when you have Bo Nix surrounded by an aging Cortland Sutton, and Jerry Judy's not there anymore. I almost caught myself there saying that. But again, like I said, the talent that is surrounded by Caleb Williams on top of the receivers he has with DeAndre Swift, the coaches that have been established there for a little while, I'd gladly take Sean Payton over whoever Chicago has at this point. I mean, it's just, I think Caleb Williams has all the potential in the world. And today, if that's like what we're going to see going forward, they have a lot to improve on in a division that they need to start winning right now.
Absolutely. I can't say it better. Gentlemen, all of you, great comments there on Caleb Williams. So one more game. It's not a final. So while we're recording this, it's going on right now. 17-10 right now. The Los Angeles Rams are behind the Detroit Lions. Los Angeles Rams with a big loss in this game as Puka Nacua is out. And a lot of worry about him. A lot of fantasy owners are going crazy because they seem to forget about Cooper Kupp and was putting it all on Puka. And now he's out again. Guy is just not healthy. Reed, what are your thoughts on that situation there?
Yeah, I was very high on Cup this year. Everyone was giving me crap for saying I reached for him. I took him in the second round. Cup's still Stafford's number one. People forgot about that, just like you said. Puka's injury did look pretty bad. He got carted off the field. But about the game itself, Stafford had a really bad interception in the red zone with 15 seconds left in the half. Really unusual for him to be making mistakes like that. But Cup's getting so many targets, 8 receptions already. The yards aren't there yet, but interesting thing about the Lions was Campbell was raving about Jameson Williams in the offseason and training camp. And being a big fantasy guy, I was like, I have to see it first. But we saw it today already. He had that bomb touchdown, 3 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown already. So I do think, the Lions and the Rams are going to be playoff teams. Not too worried about either of them in terms of being a threat to the Eagles. I'm actually more worried about the Packers than the Lions. I just think Jordan Love has more of that it factor than Jared Goff. But I think people are forgetting about the Rams. Incredible end of the season last year to make the playoffs and gave Detroit a good run for their money. They are a dark horse in my mind to actually make the Super Bowl. I think people aren't really giving them any credit.
Jess, Jordan Love went down. They're hoping he only misses 3 to 4 weeks. This could open the door for the Detroit Lions. Do you think that they continue to go forward, or was last year just a mirage?
I think they keep going forward. I really like the Lions. Jordan Love, like he sprained his MCL and it could be a few weeks. That may be an opportunity for the Lions to stack some wins, having not seen their schedule for the next few weeks. But they should be looking to stack some wins so that later in the season, when Love is back, they're going to be able to come back strong.
All right, I hesitate to ask this, so I'm going to give Hogan the time now to talk about how the Detroit Lions just persecuted Matt Patricia. So I'll let you get that out of your system and tell us about the Lions.
Actually, right, Hogan, you should put a pencil behind your ear. You actually could pull off a little Matt Patricia.
That's right.
No, he doesn't have the hobo factor. Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia.
After last year, I hate Matt Patricia.
I was going to say, Reed can appreciate my disdain for him at this point, but
Matt Patricia to me was that guy that he was your college buddy that just sits in a robe with your Netflix password. He's eating cereal out of a giant salad bowl, and he's saying inappropriate things to your wife.
Yeah, I mean, Patricia, wherever he is at this point, I know he's probably still somewhere in the league. Good riddance, goodbye to you. Detroit has found their guy for the future with Dan Campbell. He's an amazing coach. Watching what he's been able to do to not only the culture there, but the players and the personnel and just the fan base. I mean, that place was rocking. I think it was a preseason game that they were rocking so loud that they caused a false start against the team that they were playing in the preseason. Like, half the stadiums are beyond empty in the preseason. So Detroit's found their guy for the culture and everything. That being said, I do appreciate what Dan Campbell brings to the table. I personally just think that he needs to cut back on the ballsy, crazy stuff in the high pressure moments when it's not necessary. The biggest thing that sticks with me about Dan Campbell is last year when they played the Dallas Cowboys in the regular season and he went for it 3 straight times for the 2-point conversion and they were not able to get that. Granted, at the end of the game, they lost it and it didn't have the biggest influence because Dallas ended up getting knocked out of the playoffs earlier on. Reed, I know you appreciate that. Yes. But like that, the big thing was that could have easily influenced home field advantage depending on what was going on at that point. And it also, I go back to the NFC Championship where they allowed the 49ers to come back in the game by going for it on 4th down. Now, at the end of the day, if you sit there and you convert those 4th downs, you get those crazy plays to work, everybody's sitting there going, you're a genius, you're amazing, you're going to make it far. But when it doesn't work, you come up short, and it's just unfortunate. I'd love to see that kind of stuff in games in the regular season when there's not as much on the line, or even in the playoffs if it's like earlier in the game. But at the end, when you're vying for a Super Bowl, you're vying for home field advantage, cut down on the crazy and go with what works. Trust in your guys, get the job done with what works.
The crazy thing about that 2-point, those 3 attempts against Dallas too, is from the 8-yard line. It wasn't even on the 2-yard line. It obviously I wanted the Cowboys to lose that game, so I was pissed about that. But yeah.
All right. So, hey, it's been a rockin' show. We still have another game tomorrow night. San Francisco 49ers, New York Jets. It's all going to be about Robert Saleh. And so it's going to be, it'll be whoever wins this game gets to keep Robert Saleh. I mean, he might be going back to San Francisco after this game. That's just in my own little world to be more interested in something. But no, that's going to be a great game to watch. Far as everything else goes, the final thing I want to do here, we're going to go around the horn, and I'm going to ask each and every one of you, as you're looking at me like I'm crazy because you have no clue what I'm going to ask you to do. And Jess just quit. I just lost Jess. I hope he comes back. But as far as everything goes, I'm going to ask both of you to go ahead and give me your team of the week. You cannot pick your own team. Reed, I'll start with you.
Team of the week. Okay. I will probably go with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I know that Washington secondary isn't great. St. Justice is going to have to play Canadian football soon. But, I mean, Baker Mayfield, what a game from him. We already touched on it. Dealing to everyone. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, 8. Rashad White had a great game. I actually have the Bucks to win the NFC South. I think everyone was kind of sleeping on them because of all the hype around Atlanta. But yeah, I mean, how could you not be excited as a Bucks fan after watching that performance, hanging up 30 plus on the Commanders?
Okay, Hogan, I'm going to go ahead and give you the next call. Who is your team of the week? And again, you cannot take your own team.
I'm actually going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. Jess, I apologize. I know you're back, and you don't want to hear that, but I got to give credit where credit's due. Obviously, what Harbaugh was able to do with that team that obviously had an abysmal year last year. Justin Herbert, everybody knows that the sky is the limit for this kid, and he just always seems to not be able to get it done at the end of the year. But getting off to a strong start, even against a team like the Raiders, was really encouraging to see, where they ran the ball as well as they did, where you guys touched on with Dobbins and Gus Edwards obviously coming over from Baltimore. So the Harbaugh brothers know exactly who to grab there. Also interesting to see was Ladd McConkey getting into the action, getting his first touchdown as a rookie there. I think he's going to have a bright future ahead of him as long as Herbert stays upright and healthy with that team. And it was just, I think the Chargers, I don't know if they're going to pull it off this year where they're going to be able to upset a lot of people and maybe vie for the division, championship there with the Chiefs still in the running, but give it a few years, and I think Harbaugh has a chance to turn that team around. So they're my team of the week.
All right, Jess, your team of the week, and you cannot pick the Broncos. I think Jess is frozen. We'll hope to get Jess back in. So I will go ahead, and I'm going to, I wanted to possibly go the Eagles here, but I'm actually going to go with the Minnesota Vikings because it's a feel-good story, and I like a feel-good story. What they did, what Sam Darnold did, that's a guy that, since he was the third-round draft pick in, I believe, the 2018 draft, he has been a guy that, he saw ghosts, and he has never recovered from that yet. And it's so nice to see what they're doing up there. That fan base has had a lot of heartbreak as far as things go with injuries and everything that's happened. I love to see the Vikings go ahead and win that. I don't think they're going to have opportunities to be the team of the week every week. Sure, I could have gone the Eagles. Sure, I could have gone the Cowboys, but I want to go with the Vikings just because my heart says so. Jess, who do you got team of the week? No Broncos. I know you're itching to say the Broncos.
The Broncos. No, I'm gonna take Hogan's team. I actually live up here in New England myself, and it was a surprise. It was a surprise to see them get over on Cincinnati. Maybe it was Joe Burrow's crazy haircut or something else, but yeah, my team of the week. I'm impressed with what the Patriots did with what they had. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson. Wow, I'm amazed.
All right, fantastic. You know what? Hey, gentlemen, I had a fantastic time. This was great analysis from each and every one of you. So I want to go ahead and thank Aiden Reed, Nick Hogan, Jess Place. It's been a great week. We're going to have different panelists here and there. I've made a promise to these guys. if your team is on Sunday Night Football, I do not want you on the show. I want you watching and enjoying your team.
You'll be seeing a lot of me then. So there's no Sunday Night Football for the Patriots this year.
Yeah,
so I'll be
national
around
games for
every
us
week.
it's not a thing for Broncos.
And then Reed's going to be off every week then.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, hey, gentlemen, thanks so much. Make sure you check out Broncos Mile High. Make sure you check out Foxborough Frenzy
Frenzy.
And Broad Street LinkedIn, as well as the Steel Curtain Network. I'm also the producer of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Network, so make sure you check out all of those. And if your team was not mentioned to check out, hey, check them out. Check out wherever you download your favorite podcast, get your favorite team, and go ahead and see what we have to say about that team. So for Reed, Hogan, and Jess, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Go football.
Go football. We're back.
Woo-hoo-hoo.